Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Tales of Herding God Part 216 based on novel. So let's start. Qin Mu continued to explore the ruins of Without Embroiling City with Granny Sai and the rest. All of them had something in which they were proficient in, so what they could see from the remnant of divine arts was different. Everyone discussed it together, and Qin Mu benefited quite a lot. Even though he had comprehended his technique and entered the path, every aspect of his body was much inferior to those of Granny Sai, Blind and the rest. This was mainly because his technique cultivated all aspects of his corporeal body, primordial spirit, and vital qi, so he was definitely not as fast as Blind, Mute, and the rest who specialized in a single field. He also didn't have the time to research and study everything as in-depth as they did. However, when Blind and the rest discussed, it was beneficial to everybody since they could improve themselves by accepting criticism from outside. On top of that, they were all strong practitioners that had reached the extreme in a certain field. From the divine arts left behind by the gods and devils of Supreme Emperor Heaven, they also saw what they were lacking and could verify with one another. Granny, I have already combined all of the cultivation systems of Supreme Emperor Heaven and comprehended the Overlord Body 3 elixir technique that could train the whole body. Qin Mu sent out his vital qi so that it would form the inner structure of the human body. He showed the path of vital qi circulation of the divine eyes, the brain, the dantian, the four limbs, the bones, the spirit embryo, the 5 elements, and the 6 directions and the 7 stars without any restraint. Granny Sai, Blind, Butcher, Mute, and the rest were instantly lorded over and examined the structure of the human body in detail. The more they looked, the more astonished they became. There was a hidden space in Qin Mu's divine eyes, which exhibited the circulation structure of the divine eyes. There were also different structures of vital qi circulation in the brain, which were used to strengthen their power. No matter if it was hands, legs, skin, or even the 5 viscera and 6 bowels, all of them had detailed paths of vital qi circulation. Meanwhile, in the divine treasures, the vital qi circulation followed each marvel. The combination of the spirit embryo and soul borrowed the flow of vital qi to strengthen the primordial spirit. The vital qi in 5 elements, divine treasures, was separated into 5 elements, while the 5 elements gods sat in their shrines in the 5 stars. The vital qi everywhere moved according to a different circulation path. In 6 directions divine treasure, earth qi of the land was flowing at a great speed, transforming into earth magnetic force. 7 stars divine treasures controlled 5 element stars, sun and moon, unifying all of their strength to support the primordial spirit. Not only that, the fusion of Qin Mu's spirit embryo and soul was inseparably close with the corporeal body. In this way, it formed his vital qi circulation throughout the whole body. When the vital qi in the primordial spirit used the same path of circulation, he could cultivate his primordial spirit at the same time as he cultivated his corporeal body. The path of circulation of Qin Mu's technique was a 3-dimensional structure, and it was extremely exquisite. In every organ of the corporeal body, profound theories were hidden, forming the 3-dimensional technique system. The cultivation method of any organ could easily be taken out and used as a technique to cultivate a certain aspect to God realm. What was even stranger was that Qin Mu had unified these incomparably detailed techniques with the method of fusing the primordial spirit and corporeal body like he was separating the wheat from the chaff. Complicated techniques, which should have been impossible to fuse together, were fused into one by him. This was Qin Mu's greatest feat. This Overlord Body 3 elixir technique of Mua is really matchless. Granny Sai, Cripple, and the rest exclaimed in admiration, feeling like the clouds had parted and they finally got to see the sun. In the past, they had cultivated one aspect diligently and pushed them to the god realm. They had run out of road forward, and they didn't know how they were supposed to cultivate the other parts of the body at the same time. Mua, this technique is difficult in that it's complicated during circulation. When cultivating according to normal techniques, we would need dozens of different techniques to achieve what he was able to simplify into his technique. Butcher sighed in admiration. The most crucial point is that he managed to fuse his primordial spirit with his corporeal body. The 5 element stars correspond with the 5 viscera and 6 bowels, the sun and moon correspond with his eyes, and the 6 directions land transformed from the spirit embryo corresponds with his dantian. In this way, he unified all the techniques. Granny Sai nodded. This is then the most exquisite point of Overlord Body 3 elixir technique. Without this kind of method to fuse the primordial spirit and corporeal body, he wouldn't have been able to unify the techniques. Mua, did you learn it from the gods and devils of Supreme Emperor Heaven? Qin Mu's face turned dim, and he shook his head. I comprehended this method from First Ancestor Human Emperor. First Ancestor Human Emperor. Everyone in disabled elderly village was instantly full of energy, and they praised the man endlessly. The senior indeed has remarkable abilities. This kind of cultivation method solved the huge problem that has been plaguing us for years. As he listened to them, Qin Mu felt even more depressed. Butcher and Granny Sai were right. The reason why his Overlord Body 3 elixir technique could become such a success was because of the fusion of the primordial spirit and corporeal body, who had become as inseparable as if they were one. And it was something which he had learned from First Ancestor Human Emperor. He had chosen defeating First Ancestor Human Emperor to be his goal, which was why he had entered Supreme Emperor Heaven and worked so hard. He comprehended diligently and learned the strong points of the gods and devils there. Yet he had never expected that the thing that would allow him to have a huge breakthrough would still be something from First Ancestor Human Emperor. He wanted to defeat him, but even if they were on the same realm, it was very, very difficult. However, he had a way. Granny, Grandpa Butcher, this is only half the circulation path of my Overlord Body 3 elixir technique, Qin Mu said suddenly. The elders were busy observing the shape of the vital Qi human body in detail, and learning what was useful to them. Butcher was slightly stunned when he heard Qin Mu's words and cried out, "This is only half of Overlord Body 3 elixir technique." Qin Mu nodded, and the vital Qi human body in front of him instantly changed. Divine treasures of the devil path appeared, and the circulation path split into 2, displaying the technique of the devil path. Everyone's heart trembled violently, they were speechless. Divine treasures of the devil path, this wasn't something that humans could cultivate. There were actually 2 kinds of divine treasures in Qin Mu's body which were unified by him. The 2 corresponded with each other, and the vital Qi in them also circulated similarly. Blind turned his head and looked at Qin Mu. His eyes were fast as lightning, and Qin Mu didn't hold back. He opened up his divine treasures of the devil path to let him check them out. He exhibited his Overlord Body 3 elixir technique, but it wasn't showing off. He was truly sincere about wanting to help the people of disabled elderly village to comprehend his technique and break through as soon as possible, without straying into the wrong path as much as possible. Everyone also surrounded him and examined him in detail. They studied for a long time, but even Butcher didn't manage to gain anything. I can't learn it. Having suffered a setback, Butcher shook his head. I'm not the Overlord Body. You guys won't be able to learn it either. That old fellow village chief was right, Mua is the one and only Overlord Body. Even if Qin Mu showed the methods of his techniques, they couldn't learn anything. This was because they had no divine treasures of the devil path. Blind examined the youth for a long time, before settling his gaze full of suspicion at the willow leaf-shaped mark on the heart of Qin Mu's brows. Mua, even though your techniques are extremely exquisite, the technique inside your divine eyes seems to be incomplete. Qin Mu nodded and told them about how he was cut off by the devil experts when he was comprehending his divine eyes. Blind smiled and said, "I see. However, you have one more eye, so not completing the technique of the divine eyes might have been a good thing. I can help you complete the technique of your divine eyes. Give me some time, and I promise I'll open this eye in the heart of your brows." He was excited and eager to get into action. Qin Mu had always had suspicions about the eye that had suddenly appeared at the heart of his brows. This eye might not be due to the technique. Since it had appeared so suddenly, I'm afraid there would be danger in me opening it. Everyone went forward and looked at the eye in the heart of his brows. Apothecary checked it carefully and shook his head. This is a devil eye that is refined from the spirit embryo divine treasure of the devil path, so it shouldn't be much of a problem. You can just open it. If blind can't complete the divine eyes technique, I can help you force it open. Everyone threw him to the side and continued to examine the vital Qi human body, comprehending the marvel of it. In a little while, they returned to the sentry post and went to comprehend by themselves, tidying up their own techniques. Qin Mu's show of the circulation system of his technique had brought them greater benefits than what they had gained from observing the ruins of without Embroiling city. It allowed them to see a shortcut to break through their bottleneck. Granny Sai's algebra wasn't extremely great, and her advancement was the slowest. She could only seek knowledge from Blind and the others, so everyone had gathered together to combine all their strong points and discuss various ideas with one another. Hu Linga had followed Deaf to learn calligraphy and painting for a time, so she had also learned algebra from Blind, in which she was quite accomplished. Because of that, she mixed among them and learned their techniques. Chancellor B.A. Shan also joined, and everyone advanced even faster. When the sky grew bright once more, everyone finished with many benefits. When Qin Mu was done with breakfast, he saw that Granny Sai, Blind, and the rest had discussed their ideas the whole night. They were polishing the gathered strong points of everyone which they had forged into the foundation of a technique. So he didn't disturb them and just called Hu Linga over to eat. "Cult Master, I want to eat water element divine vitality pills." The dragon Qilin bit his basin and brought it over. "I want half a bucket." Qin Mu was beyond overjoyed and praised him. "Fatty dragon has really grown up. Let me give you 1 bucket. The dragon Qilin was also overjoyed. When Qin Mu finished refining spirit pills, he turned around to the green bull. His eyes lit up and he asked with a smile, "Bull 3, what pills do you eat?" The green bull also hadn't slept the whole night, having cultivated ancestral dragon supreme mystery technique. However, he was still full of vigor. He walked over and bowed. "Little old master, I don't eat spirit pills. Cultivation that relies on spirit pills results only in excess fats." Qin Mu smiled at him. "Spirit pills can raise your cultivation quickly, and if you cultivate diligently, you can refine the excess medicinal energy in them. Ancestral Dragon Supreme Mystery Technique consumes a lot of energy, so if you don't make it up with spirit pills, you will damage your corporeal body, and it'll wither, posing a threat to your life. You have the bloodline of the green dragon, which has the wind and lightning attributes, I'll prescribe you wind lightning sun god pills. Wait a moment." The green bull was delighted and hurriedly said, "Little cow is moved to tears. If little old master can add some fragrance of flowers, that would be even better." Qin Mu nodded and matched herbs to create wind lightning sun god pills. He then asked for some flowers and grass from the green bull and refined the pills. An unusual fragrance assaulted his nostrils. The green bull tasted pill and was overjoyed. He praised Qin Mu endlessly, then immediately went to cultivate. The dragon Qin felt his blood run cold and hurriedly finished all of the water element divine vitality pills before going away to cultivate. But as he did so, he suddenly came to a realization. That's not right. Cult Master seems to have grabbed hold of my weakness. He first imparted Ancestral Dragon Supreme Mystery Technique to the Green Bull, and now even refined pills for him. This is forcing me to work hard. Could it be my human rearing scriptures? He took out human rearing scriptures in a hurry and let out a sigh of relief. I am too paranoid. Qin Mu and Hu Linga sat down to eat breakfast, and he took out a small booklet through which he flipped leisurely. Hu Linga hurriedly said, "Young master, after you finish reading it once, you must burn it. You can't let him know that I had copied it." Qin Mu nodded and continued to flip through the pages with a sneer. This fatty dragon, to play me like this me. Luckily I've discovered it early, or I would have become his medicine boy. Linga, don't worry, I won't betray you. Suddenly, Blind's voice rang out full of delight. Mua, I have patched all the incomplete parts of your divine eyes. Come and try to cultivate them. Qin Mu put down his bowl and chopsticks. He hurriedly went over, and Blind used his vital qi to exhibit the circulation path of his technique. He said with a smile, "The few of us did some research, and we feel that this is the way to awaken your third eye. Look at it first and see if there's anything missing." Qin Mu checked it carefully. The path of the divine eyes that Blind and the rest had completed made up for what his divine eyes were lacking. On top of that, they had even added a vital qi circulation technique for the third eye. He calculated carefully and shook his head. "Grandpa Blind, I can't see anything missing." He recorded the vital qi circulation path, and instantly executed Overlord Body 3 elixir technique according to it. Everyone looked nervously at the heart of his brows, waiting for this eye to open. Qin Mu executed Overlord Body 3 elixir technique, and dragon roars reverberated from his vital qi coming to the heart of his brows. Suddenly, from the willow leaf-shaped mark, a drop of black blood flowed out. Then, the eyelids retracted to both sides, opening the eye. At the heart of Qin Mu's brows, the willow leaf-shaped eye gradually opened. From the gap, dazzling light in the shape of butterfly wings leaked out. How pretty! Granny Sai couldn't resist crying out in admiration. Yet even though the butterfly wing-shaped markings were gorgeous, there seemed to be something extremely terrifying hidden within them. Butcher, Blind, and the rest came forward to check it in detail. Qin Mu was executing his technique, and the vertical eye gradually opened wider and wider. It looked like Qin Mu's head was becoming a huge butterfly. Of course, this butterfly had grown in front of his forehead. Suddenly, Butcher and the rest felt terrifying pulses, as though there was some terrifying monster waking up in the abyss, gradually opening its blood-red eye. What is that? Butcher, Blind, and Mute were the first to come back to their senses after releasing waves of divine might. They had sensed a threat, and their bodies had reacted on instinct. Butcher's speed was the fastest, and with a clear cry, his divine knife soared up and made a circle before hanging still in the air. Mute was next, and a beam of flames rushed into the sky from the forging furnace behind him. The flaming pillar swirled furiously and scorched the air scarlet red. Blind's speed was slightly slower. Divine Spear longed to or rattled as it shook and transformed into a black dragon coiling around his body, waiting to strike while accumulating power. Next was Granny Sai, who had also involuntarily released her aura. Countless stars had appeared behind her, forming great overarching heavenly stars force field to fight against the terrifying pulses. Boom! Cripple turned and ran, creating 100 miles distance between them. Only then did he realize something. It seems to be coming from Mua's body, and not from some terrifying monster. ZHNNG. Va Shan drew his knife and looked around in alarm while shouting, "Where's the monster?" He was also a great master. Even though his knife skills weren't comparable to those of strong practitioners like Butcher, he had still created a faction of battle spells, and was also extremely sensitive to the danger. Deaf and Apothecary had blank expressions. It was especially so for Apothecary, who had completely no idea what had just happened. Deaf's cultivation had not yet reached the god realm. He had only cultivated to the middle of divine bridge realm, so he hadn't even started on the patching process. His problem was that he was intoxicated with the path of painting and paid no attention to the affairs of the world, so his reaction was somewhat slow. Apothecary had finally broken through his life and death wall 2 years ago, but he was still on it. He didn't view his cultivation highly, so it rose very slowly. Only after Qin Mu had spread out secrets of Magpie Bridge, secrets of Mysterious Guide, and secrets of Divine Crossing that he began focusing on cultivation. However, he still had many women around him who delayed the advance in his cultivation. The 2 of them were the slowest, but they also soon realized that something was wrong. The pulses that had suddenly went past them seemed to come from an incomparably terrifying monster that was gradually waking up. Yet the source of them was the third eye that Qin Mu was currently opening. Everyone looked toward the heart of his brows. Light was still bursting forth from it, becoming more and more gorgeous. Within it, a black figure could be seen. It was very tiny, as though it was a baby. However, it was stepping on light, and slowly walking out of the depths of Qin Mu's third eye. As he walked, it was also continuously growing and becoming bigger. Soon, it filled up Qin Mu's whole third eye. Mua, stop executing Overlord Body 3 Elixir technique. Butcher shouted loudly, as though he was facing a great enemy. There's something weird in your eye. Stop quickly. Yet it was already too late. The black figure had already filled up Qin Mu's vertical eye and was about to walk out. I feel like I'm filled with power. Delirious ravings came from Qin Mu's mouth. Power to destroy everything. When he said that, the elders of disabled elderly village felt their blood run cold. They could hear 2 voices speaking at the same time. They had overlapped while coming out from Qin Mu's mouth. Catcher. The sky vibrated violently, as the light coming out from the third eye distorted space. Terrifying power leaked out, and caused the space to be unstable. Cracks began to appear continuously among the rumblings of thunder. Because of the devil's actions, the space of Supreme Emperor Heaven was not too stable to begin with, and it could easily be torn open. However, it wasn't something that ordinary divine art practitioners could do. One needed to at least have the power of a god. Yet the power from Qin Mu's eye was actually causing the space in the surroundings to crumble continuously. The densely packed cracks stretched without end. There are dozens of divine arts practitioners within the sentry post of Supreme Emperor Heaven. When they saw cracks spreading out, they fled in a hurry. The dragon Qilin, who was training diligently, hurriedly raised his head, and also jumped away when he saw a crack rushing toward him. The crack tore apart the land on which he'd been standing moments earlier, and instantly, a long ditch that stretched for over 10 miles appeared. It was still growing deeper and deeper. The dragon Qilin shuddered, and Hulinga leaped onto his head. She shouted, "Fatty dragon, run! Young master is revealing his true form." The dragon Qilin scrambled away in a hurry, leaving world-shaking explosions behind himself. Hulinga turned back to take a look, and saw the green bull also escaping for his life. Behind him was the sentry post, which was 300 yards tall and covered a hectare. The explosions were from the sentry tower. It was distorted by the cracks in space and split into countless pieces. Each chunk of rubble was floating in a different piece of shattered space. Soon, more explosions rang in the air as the divine arts left behind by the gods and devils in the ruins of Without Embroiling City were touched. It resulted in a chain reaction, as they burst forth one after another. Fireworks bloomed in the shattered space and looked abnormally beautiful. The sight was indescribably pretty. Hu Ling'e didn't have the time to admire it. Her gaze was fixated on the butterfly wing-shaped light. It left her slightly disappointed. Young master isn't a fox spirit, but a butterfly spirit. Qin Mu stood on the ground that was crumbling around him non-stop, making him sink down. The same thing was happening under Butcher, Blind, and the rest until fire-red magma was beneath them. The ruins of without Embroiling city sank underground. Huge rocks and dilapidated walls fell into bubbling magma that burst in flames. Everyone tried their best to stabilize themselves. Butcher, Mute, Blind, Granny Sai, and Ba Shan worked together to fight against the torn space, protecting Apothecary and Deaf while Cripple just kept shuttling to and fro among the shattered space, trying to get close. Everyone was astonished by the events. Blind stretched his hand out to grab Divine Spear Long Tuo. The spear moved along with his body, and in an instant, he struck out with countless spear images, blocking the dangerous power in the space surrounding them. He shouted, "Butcher, help me reach him so I can seal the eye." Butcher grabbed his heaven knife and rushed to his side. "Granny, Mute, you guys protect the others." The two of them allied together, and closed in on Qin Mu step by step. However, with the space being split apart continuously, crossing the distance between them and Qin Mu wasn't an easy task. The two of them tried their best to rush forward, past the strange power breaking the space around them. Butcher suddenly looked down and saw the entire, without Embroiling city sinking into the magma. There was only a sea of fire below them. Incomparably strange, devil chi suddenly poured out from it. The devil chi was different from the one in the devil territory of Supreme Emperor Heaven. That one was only a kind of spirit chi that was contaminated by devil nature, while the devil chi from the sea of fire was more primordial, ancient. It was Yudu devil chi. It was obvious that the monster in Qin Mu's body had awakened and torn the barrier between the world of the living and the world of the dead, connecting reality to Yudu. The two elders slowly closed in on Qin Mu until they were only 3 to 6 yards away. However, this distance seemed incomparably far, and the two of them pushed through only with extreme difficulty. Butcher's knife and Blind's spear were both fixed in the air by a strong power, which they couldn't fight. Their corporeal bodies creaked from the power pressing on them from all directions. Blind's body became even smaller, and Butcher also became much shorter. The two of them nearly became round as balls. Butcher roused all his strength to pave the way for Blind, and blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. Blind used that moment to withstab with Divine Spear Long Tuo toward the third eye of Qin Mu with trembling hands. He was a formation expert, and his art of sealing was extremely high. However, H's spear could not touch the heart of Qin Mu's brows. "Mua, wake up." Blind gritted his teeth, and pushed Divine Spear Long Tuo forward with difficulty. The skin on both of his hands had started to rip, and droplets of blood seeped out from the ripped skin that was being vaporized. "Butcher, I can't hold on any longer." A mouthful of blood poured out from Blind's throat as he spoke with difficulty. The dragon head of Divine Spear Long Tuo also let out a cry. "My lord, I also can't hold on much longer." The tip of the spear had already started to break down, and Blind's hands were shaking bad. The flesh and blood on his arms were also falling apart. Right then, Qin Mu raised his palm and grabbed the jade pendant on his chest, tugging it off. "Don't throw," Blind said in a soft voice with difficulty. Qin Mu's expression was indifferent. He opened his fingers and let the jade pendant fall into the sea of fire below. Despair filled everyone's hearts. Cripple traveled rapidly through space to grab the jade pendant, but it was already too late. At that moment, magma suddenly churned as two sharp horns with 9 bends rose from it to reveal a majestic god with the head of a bull and the eyes of a tiger. Cripple hurriedly avoided him while crying out, "Earth Count! Earth Count, you are ruining my plans again," Qin Mu said with anger. Earth Count grabbed the jade pendant and sent it up with a pointed finger. The jade pendant touched the heart of Qin Mu's brows and sealed the devil eye. The pendant vanished then, having entered Qin Mu's third eye. The abnormalities in the surroundings suddenly stopped, and the torn space returned back to normal. The magma Earth Count's body crumbled, falling back into the boiling magma. Qin Mu also fell, and blind hurriedly through divine spear long tour. It swam while changing into the skeletal frame of a black dragon to catch the youth. It then soared into the sky and landed outside the ruins of without Embroiling city. Blind spat out a mouth of blood while Butcher, Granny Sai, and the rest took in a deep breath before coming out from the ruins and landing on the ground. Qin Mu had fainted with his third eye shut. Cripple ran over in a hurry and looked at the fainted youth with lingering fear. The thing in his eye, it's still there. Why don't we open his eyelid to check? Everyone glowered at Cripple, and he hurriedly shut up. Granny Sai muttered to herself for a moment before saying, "Even though that weird thing in the eye was sealed by Earth Count, we still have to make sure." She stretched out her trembling hand to open up the eyelid of the third eye. Yet before she could reach it, it opened up by itself. Astonished, Granny Sai fell back, while Qin Mu sat up. He looked at her with bewilderment. "Granny Sai, why are you guys all crowding around me?" Butcher, blind, and mute crowded up to look at his eyes with bright and emotion-filled gazes. They observed his third eye without blinking. Suddenly, they heard a loud boom and saw Cripple having run 100 miles away. When he turned back and saw Butcher and the rest still surrounding Qin Mu, even he who usually had an astonishingly thick skin, couldn't help blushing in shame and running back. Everyone knew he was timid, yet they didn't make fun of him. Instead, they were all focused on examining Qin Mu's eyes. His eyeball rolled around, and he muttered, "Granny, Grandpas, what are you guys looking at?" Granny Sai looked at his vertical eye with extreme attention, but she didn't discover any abnormalities within it. She could only see that the pupil had a butterfly pattern. The vein lines were also different, their structure like that of butterfly wings. Furthermore, they were moving and changing continuously. "Mua, do you really not remember what happened just now?" Granny Sai asked. Qin Mu pondered over it with some bitterness, then his eyes suddenly lit up. "I remember." Everyone couldn't help becoming nervous when the youth began speaking again with a smile. "I executed Overlord Body 3 Elixir technique. When I circulated to the third eye according to the divine eye technique that Grandpa Blind had completed, I felt a wave of boundless power flooding through me as though I was omnipotent. Then..." He scrunched his brows and sank back into deep thoughts. There was blankness in place of what had happened after. It was as though he had lost a part of his memories. This wasn't the first time it had happened. In Fengdu, when King Yama had unsealed his jade pendant, it had happened once. Afterward, when Fu Riluo had unsealed his jade pendant, it had happened again. This time was unrelated to the jade pendant, yet he had lost some memory as well. Jade pendant. Where's my jade pendant? Qin Mu suddenly felt his scalp crawl, and he hurriedly stood up. He searched his body, his limbs going cold. In a trembling voice, he said, "My family heirloom is gone." "Bah, it's not a family heirloom. The jade pendant crafted by Earth Count to suppress my devil nature is gone. Granny, Grandpa Blind, have you guys seen my jade pendant? Grandpa Cripple, you must be the one who took it. Stop playing or a curse will come. Return it to me quickly." Cripple shook his head. "I didn't steal your jade pendant, but the curse has indeed come." Qin Mu trembled violently, and he froze in a daze. Only now did he notice a huge pit in front of him. Where without Embroiling City had once stood, there was an incomparably huge abyss. Boiling magma covered the ground there. The sea of fire was terrifyingly vast. The power of this curse had to have been terrifying. It's 100 times worse when I had fallen into Fu Riluo's grasp, Qin Mu muttered. Mua, Earth Count had shown up and placed your jade pendant in your third eye, Granny Sai said while walking over. You should get your bearings first. Let us go over there to discuss some matters. Qin Mu nodded with a blank expression. Granny Sai took a glance at Blind, who was instantly alerted. He was about to flee, but Butcher and Mute squeezed him between themselves. One grabbed his left arm and the other his right. What are you guys doing? Blind was brought away by them without his feet even touching the ground. He cried out, we are all from the same village, so what do you guys want to do? Leave some face for me. Mua, Mua. Butcher and Mute brought him away with faces full of smiles. Qin Mu turned around and wanted to ask what was happening, but Granny Sai smiled gently at him. Mua, we're going to discuss some things. You don't have to follow, just rest up for now. Cripple, Deaf, let's go. Va Shan, follow us as well. Everyone left. Don't go overboard, no need to be rough. We meet regularly, and you all took part in creating the technique for the divine eyes. When I taught it to Qin Mu, you guys were all on the side, nodding in approval. You guys really beat me. Cripple, you dare to beat me. Va Shan, I'm your senior uncle, our relationship is the best. You guys are biased. Qin Mu caused the trouble, so why don't you guys beat him? Mua, Mua, save me. Feeling suspicious, Qin Mu took out a mirror to examine the eye in the heart of his brows. It looked normal, he couldn't see anything special about it. What exactly is the use of this eye, he wondered. After a moment, everyone returned to the side of the abyss satisfied. Blind's face was bruised and his clothes were disheveled. Qin Mu turned his head back and said in astonishment and delight. Granny Sai, I executed Overlord Body 3 Elixir technique, just now and finally discover the secret of this third eye. The hair on Granny Sai and the rest's bodies stood up on ends. They were about to escape, but when Qin Mu executed Overlord Body 3 Elixir technique, and nothing terrifying happened, they let out sighs of relief, secretly ashamed. Qin Mu was full of excitement, as he showed them what he'd noticed. When I execute this vertical eye, I can see the boundless Yudu, what is below everyone's life and death realm. I think I can use this eye to tear the Yudu of the life and death realm to snatch my opponent's life away. Butcher gave a cough and said, Mua, killing people with a stare isn't too good, is it? It's damaging to the natural order of things, and is harmful to the secret virtue. It's still better to slay them with a knife. This eye of yours, it's best not to use it. Granny Sai, Blind, and the rest nodded repeatedly. Cripple then said, if you could stab them in the back, it would be even better than staring them to death with your third eye. Qin Mu was puzzled. Isn't it the same? Of course it isn't the same. If you use this eye, I'm afraid, B.A. Shan said in his loud voice. Butcher placed his knife on Chancellor B.A. Shan's neck with a solemn face, and he immediately shut his mouth. Qin Mu looked at them suspiciously. This video will end here.